Hi, my name is Jenny. I'm 20 years old and I'm from Norway. My story starts when I was 5.5. I was a happy, healthy young girl up until then. I was engaged in sports, I loved being outside and active, swimming, climbing trees. I was on vacation at our cabin with my family, away from civilization, when my streak of disasters started. I randomly fell sick one morning. Apparently, I got chickenpox. That's quite normal for young kids that age. Everyone gets it and everyone gets over it, so nothing to worry about, right? Wrong. The following day, I got even sicker. All of a sudden, during the night, I started getting trouble breathing, and my mom rushed me to the nearest hospital. She drove with all the windows open to help my breathing as much as she could. Mom also kept talking to me to keep me conscious. But on our way to the hospital, I got even worse and could barely recognize my mom. At the hospital, we were told that I had a collapsed lung, not something you'd expect from an ordinary chickenpox. Examinations and analyses brought forth a new horrifying diagnosis: acute leukemia. My mom would not believe what the doctors told us next. They said that there was no point in trying to save her life, as the cancer would kill her soon anyway. So they refused to take me in and help me. They told my mom that she should just face the fact that I would die and try to make my final months as enjoyable as possible, instead of wasting them on painful medical procedures. My mom was outraged. Thankfully, she's also a doctor. She said, "They taught me to fight for every patient's life. Don't you dare look me in the eye and tell me my 5-year-old daughter is going to die without even trying to help her." She then demanded that I was transferred to a different hospital. The new hospital provided me with help and treatment. The only problem was that the doctors didn't have the right equipment to help my collapsed lung, so I didn't get enough oxygen to my blood to survive, let alone get better. I remember looking in the mirror and seeing my pupils were blown wide. Mom had to transfer me to a hospital in Sweden in order to cure my lung. After a few weeks of treatments, there I got a lot better and was cleared to go back to Norway to start my treatment for the cancer. Sadly, this was barely the start of my story. After I started my chemotherapy, I rapidly got much worse because my lungs were still too weak to give my blood enough oxygen. And leukemia is an illness of the blood after all. I got sent back to Sweden. If the doctors from that first hospital were right, I would have probably been dead already. But they were wrong. After a while, the Swedish doctors finally managed to stabilize my condition. I was able to return to Norway and continue with my cancer treatment. And this time, I seemed to respond great to the therapy. So great, in fact, that I was eventually allowed to go home and live with mom and dad in between treatments. We had to keep the house spotless. I could only eat what the doctors permitted, and I couldn't even think of doing sports again yet. Nevertheless, I seemed to be steadily on my way to a normal, healthy life. One time, I had been staying with my family for a while. We were having a great time and discussing the possibility of going to school soon. But I suddenly got really sick. I was nauseous and shaking, which looked like a leukemia relapse. Mom rushed me to the hospital again. This time, it was for the cancer getting worse, but also because I had gotten both a stroke and cerebral hemorrhage. It happens to a lot of little kids with leukemia. They rescued me. I was able to think clearly and move and even talk somewhat. But the stroke left the left side of my body completely paralyzed. Speech therapy and massage and a wheelchair were a part of my life now. Thankfully, that was the end of my trials. Despite the paralysis, I was almost cancer-free. There was nowhere to go but up. By my 6th birthday, I had defeated cancer completely and could go back home. I was even walking out of my hospital room. On crutches, of course, but still. Long years of recovery lay ahead. I have now used the past 15 years training and straightening the left side of my body, and I'm almost able to move as easily as I could as a kid. And even though I was told as a teen that I might not be able to have children, I now have my lovely son who is 4 months old. I am deeply grateful to my mom for leaving no stone unturned and fighting for my life to the very end. Never lose hope. Even though a tragedy may strike, it is never the end until you give up. Would you like to see more episodes? Support us by hitting like and subscribe. If you want to see your story in one of our videos, send it to this email address.